Hello everyone, yes, I know. I'm late to the party. I think this kind of videos they should be released at the beginning of the month, but we're still in May, so I'm still allowed to post this video. And just before we start, I just wanna show something. I bought the newest Dreamcatcher album and I am obsessed. Do you care? No. Do I wanna show it? Yes. So, as you read by the title, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through everything that I watched over the month of April, series and movies. I honestly discovered many new films. I rewatched films that I haven't watched for the last 10 to 15 years. So my thoughts have changed completely. And I'm just so excited to talk about these, and I love doing these videos because with this kind of videos it's the perfect chance to talk about films, non-horror. So sit back, relax, and just welcome back to another video here on this channel, Royal Horror. So first things first, the series that I watched over the month of April are 3, and the first one will be Elite Season 5, and I have to say that these series are such a guilty pleasure. I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about these. I honestly wouldn't recommend this because these series are so toxic. They give such a toxic message to the audience, especially to like teenagers. So I don't know why Netflix has been renewing every single season. Which brings me to the opposite, and the next series that I watched are Heartstopper. Now, 5 stars out of 5, 10 out of 10, 100 out of 100. I adored this series. I loved Heartstopper so much. I don't want to talk too much about it because obviously it's not horror or thriller, but I think it's worth it to mention that this series are gonna do such a huge impact into the world. I wish I would have grown with this kind of series, but I'm just happy this series will help so many kids out there to discover themselves and to help them being brave. So I'm really happy Netflix decided to do a live action from the comics. Another series that I watched is Daybreak. This is a horror series and it's a Netflix original. And if you like zombies, if you like apocalypse films, I think you will like this. This is like horror comedy. So I was 50-50 about it, but I actually had a good time with it. And I would really recommend it. It's very gory. The practical effects are good, so I really like that. Now, before we go into the movies, I just want to remind you that the way that I do my Letterboxd recap videos is I separate the movies into the categories 1 star, 2 stars, 3, 4, 5 and the half in between. Before we start with today's video, I'm not gonna talk about films like Evil Eye, Black Box and The Manor, and the main reason is because I already talked about those films in my previous video, which is top best Amazon original horror movies. So if you want to hear my thoughts on those movies, definitely give that video a watch. And the first the only half-star film that I watched in April is Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight 2, the Netflix original, the sequel from 2021. Now, for me, this is the worst horror film released in 2021, and the main reason is because it just nothing happens and everything happens at the same time in such a bad way. The sequel, it just didn't make any kind of sense. The characters are so lame. Our protagonists are so stupid. Our antagonists, they're also stupid as well. This is so poorly written and the cinematography is very, very weak. You know that I love talking about cinematography when it comes to horror films. And the cinematography in this film just was terrible in my opinion. The lighting didn't make any kind of sense. Now when it comes to 1 star, I watched many 1 stars film in the last month, which is like very disappointing. And the first 1 star film will be Choose or Die, released in 2022, like last month. And I have to say, I don't want to talk too much about it, but my main issue with this film is that the characters are very weak, the storyline is very weak, and I think in 2022, in this kind of a storyline, it just doesn't make sense, and for me it was very, very boring. And I think if this concept or film would have been released in the 19s or 2000s, I think it will have hit different. The next one-star film will be The Hike, released in 2011, a British film and a slasher British film. Now, I don't think anyone has ever heard about this, and to be honest, me too. I just decided to watch this because I was going through Amazon Prime to see which movie would I download to watch it on the trains, and I saw The Hike. I already was on a slasher, and after watching this film, I have so many questions to the producers of this because the only things that happen in this film is women being tortured for no reason, out of nowhere, but they decided to be shocking in such a bad way. Now, the next one star will be Hatchet from 2006. Now, this was a first time, and I'm sorry because I know this film is so well loved by the community, but I was just not a big fan. I think the characters were so annoying. I didn't like any of the characters, even the antagonist. I didn't like how the antagonist looked. I really like the kills, and that's why this movie has a 1 star. Otherwise, it would have been a half star. But the kills were impressive. I really like the practical effects. But apart from that, everything else is just a mess in my opinion. Now, the first non-horror film that I'm going to talk about, and it's still 1 star, it will be I Love You, Beth Cooper from 2008. Now, I don't want to talk about this film because obviously it's not horror and it's 1 star, so obviously it's not very worth it. But I just have to say that the only reason why I watched this was because of Hayden, and that's it. Moving to 1 star and a half, the first non-horror film will be Grown Ups 2, the sequel from 2013. Now, this film, I remember loving this film as a kid when it came out, but watching it now as a grown up, like 10 years, almost 10 years after, I have to say that this film is very, very weak. Like, nothing happens at all. The comedy is so forced, and we're gonna talk about the original in a minute, but it was very annoying. The characters are so annoying, like everything is so forced. Like, I just didn't laugh at all. When it comes to 2 stars, the first one will be Grown Ups from 2010. Now, this used to be one of my favorite comedies of all time as a kid and growing up, but now after 10 years, 12 years after watching this film, I have to say that a message to directors and producers to comedy films: please stop doing homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic and racist jokes, because that's actually not funny at all. I was so annoyed by the amount of homophobic, transphobic, xenophobic and racist jokes this film has. I was so triggered, I was so uncomfortable, and the fact that people are actually okay with this kind of jokes is just terrible. The next 2 stars is one of the newest films, and that is All the Old Knives from Prime. It's an Amazon original. I have to say that I gave this film 2 stars just because the cinematography is sick, but apart from that, the characters are very weak and the scenes were happening and happening and happening. It was the same scene over and over again. It was like one scene extended for almost 2 hours. And the next and the last 2 stars will be Death on the Nile. And this film was just very annoying. I didn't like it too much. And the main reason is because I've seen this kind of storylines so many times. I saw the ending coming from miles away. And I don't know, it was very annoying. I think it was way too long. Why was this movie like 2 hours and a half? This movie could have easily been 1 hour and 20 minutes if I'm honest. The next 2 films are 2 stars and a half, and those will be first The Proposal, a comedy film. And again, I really liked this film as a kid, but watching it right now, it was very annoying. And even though I like Sandra Bullock and Ryan Reynolds, I think this film was so unrealistic, so cliche. Like every single cliche you can imagine from comedy, this movie has it, and I was very annoyed. I had a few laughs here and there, and that's why it's 2 stars and a half. And another 2 stars and a half, and it's kind of like coincidental, that will be The Lost City, another Sandra Bullock film. And I had a good time with this film. I had a few laughs, I had a good time, but my main issue is that again it was very long. I think this could have easily been cut into like 1 hour and 30. The only good thing about this film, in my opinion, is the storyline. I think it's quite well paced, but I was just very annoyed because some scenes were also repetitive and I just could see everything coming. And let's talk about the 3 stars. The first one will be Snake Eyes G.I. Joe Origins, and I have to say that I really like this film and I've seen many people hating on it, and I will understand why, but I really like this. I think it works as an original film, action film. And the only things that I didn't like, first of all, is that it's very cliche, like superheroes and action films are becoming so cliche and I don't want that. And also it's very long, like it drags in so many scenes. And the next 3 stars will be the Disney film Brother Bear, and one of my fave animated food movies of all time, and I always cry watching this film. I just gave 3 stars because the storyline is just obviously becomes cliche, and maybe the message didn't hit too much on me because I didn't grow up with brothers. Let's talk about 3 stars and a half. And the first film that I want to talk about, and I'm so excited to talk about this film, is Splinter from 2008. And now, this is the way you make slashers original and unique out of the common. I absolutely love this film. I think the practical effects were insane and the videography is so good. This film deserves so much recognition because sadly most of the people, I'm not saying everyone, but most of the people in the horror community believe that the 2000s are very cheesy, and this movie is the proof that it's not. I love how this movie shows that slashers can be unique and different. I really like the characters, I really like the location, the landscape. My only issue about this film, and that's why I gave 3 stars and a half, is because some scenes the CGI didn't look too good, and some dialogue it was also quite annoying, and some decisions were very annoying. So that's why 3 stars and a half. But I would really recommend this film if you are into slashers, gory, and if you like one location's horror film, this will definitely be for you. And the next film will be Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight, the original, and I have to say that I really like this slasher. I think it was very entertaining. I love the kills, I love the storyline, I think it's very well paced. And in this movie, I really like the antagonists, they look very disturbing. And I just like the pace, like it makes sense why these people are going into the woods. And I would really recommend this if you are into gore and slashers. Now the next film will be The Novice from 2021, the Anne Isabel Furman film, like she is the leader. And I love this film. I think the cinematography is one of the best cinematographies I've ever seen from the last year. This is a 2021 film. And I have to say that the message behind this film is very strong. I really like the way they communicated this film to the audience. I think the scenes are very strong and I think it's very well paced. I think our character has such a beautiful development. And if you liked Black Swan from 2010, you will love The Novice. Next film will be Monsters University, the sequel from 2013. Now, I really like this film. I think this movie was so much fun. I laughed in so many scenes. I think the storyline is so well paced. It actually gives a good message to the audience. My only issue with this film is that I don't know why all the monsters they look the same. Like literally everyone looks exactly the same. The last 3 stars and a half will be The Purge, the original. Now if you know me, you know that The Purge is one of my favorite franchises of all time, and the original Purge is iconic. I love this movie so much. I love home invasions, and The Purge is one of the best ones I've ever seen. And I understand why people don't like this film. I understand that. I honestly love it and I will always defend it. I think this concept was way ahead of its time. It's 4 stars, and the films I'm gonna talk about first are The Purge, the sequel, and the third Purge. So I'm gonna talk about them together. I absolutely love both of those films so much. I think they're so different one from each other. Both films give different messages. I loved how they both talk about what happens at Purge night. I love the characters, I love the costume designs, the kills, and the whole storyline in general. And obviously Anarchy really proved that the Purge is dangerous, and obviously election year, I think it proved that if the Purge will happen in real life, people will participate 100%. This film will be Don't Breathe, and a home invasion. As you know me, I love home invasions. I love this film so much. It's so creepy. I was so tense most of the time while watching this film, and I really appreciate that. and I really like that the characters are like they have a reason why this is happening to them, and I just really like the ending. And I loved how our antagonist, it doesn't need to be extremely creepy to be disturbing. The next 4 stars will be Scream, the new Scream. Now, I've talked about this film before. I loved this film so much. A film for the fans. I love the opening scene, the characters. I love the Latin representation from our leader. The next film will be Luca from 2021. And I absolutely love this film. I cried watching this film. And again, I would have loved to grown up watching this film because the message behind it is very important and it's very impactful, and I'm so happy kids will grow up watching this film. I love the characters, I love the storyline, and I love the whole metaphor that this movie wants to give from today's society. Now, 4 stars and a half, that is only one film, and that will be the original Monsters Inc. I absolutely love this film, one of my favorite films of all time when it comes to animated. And I don't know if you notice this in this film, because I'm sure this film is very popular. But this film talks about 2 dads, like 2 males being parents, and I absolutely love that. We love the representation, and I have so much fun watching this film. I will always laugh. Now, the last category will be the 5 stars, and we only have one film, and I'm so excited to talk about it, and it's The Tender Bar, an Amazon original released in 2021. Now, this is probably the best drama I have ever seen in my entire life. I absolutely love the storyline. It's so well paced from like beginning to end. It knows how to start, it knows how to develop, and it knows how to end. It doesn't have any kind of cliches, maybe 1 or 2, but they're very forgettable, if that makes sense. Like, you don't really care about those cliches. The characters are insane. I love our leads. I love that we don't really have an antagonist. The antagonist actually is society, if that makes sense. Not any character, just the world our characters are living in. And that was very, very shocking for me. I really felt connected with the storyline because some things that happens to our main character, they have happened to me. So I really like the representation, in my opinion, from my own experience. That was my Letterboxd recap video. Now I'm gonna say the worst and the best series and movies. So when it comes to the series, the worst series that I watched over the month of April will be Elite Season 5. Now, I don't have to say too much things about these, just that it was very, very unnecessary. And the best series, it's not a secret, is Heartstopper. Thank you, Netflix, for making this series. I think these series are gonna help so many kids out there, and I'm so happy that it's happening in today's world. Now, when it comes to the movies, I have so many options to choose from when it comes to the worst film of the month. You will think that I will say Nobody Sleeps in the Woods Tonight 2 will be the worst film of the month. Obviously, it's a bad film. I will say that place is taken by The Hike from 2011. Now, this film, it was just so bad that I was very annoyed. And I'm just so tired what films wants to be shocking by making like women being tortured. Now, it's not a secret, the best film of the month will be The Tender Bar. Now, I just love this film so much. I felt so identified with the character that I actually cried, and I love when movies make me feel that way. So definitely give Tender Bar a watch. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment section below which of these film or series you have watched, and let me know your opinions, and also let me know what you have been watching over the month of April. I would love to read those movies so I could maybe add them to my watch list. Don't forget to follow me on my social media. Have a nice end of the week, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.